Hey guys, tonight we begin with the clink of bronze tools beside a shaking wooden bed. The room is small, smaller than you'd think. A single clay lamp flickers in the corner, its flame bending like it's trying not to watch. The walls are made of dry mud, cracked with time. There's a smell, too, of damp straw, old blood, maybe something herbal crushed in haste. And someone is lying there. Quiet, mostly. But their toes curl and their fingers tremble because the healer is near. Not a doctor as we know them. Just someone with a steady hand and a collection of instruments that were handed down more like prayers than tools. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. We're not here to flinch tonight. Not to gasp or wince. We're here to understand the quiet, desperate bravery of people who endured pain not for punishment, but for hope. People who let others slice, burn, drain, and blister their skin, because it was the only thing that could be done. Let me know where you're tuning in from. What time is it where you are? Tonight, we'll walk through many rooms like this. An ancient Egyptian chamber where coal and copper were mixed into eye salve. A Roman tent where wine was poured into an open wound as a man bit his lip bloody. A medieval cottage where a mother whispered to a fevered child as leeches slowly blackened on her arms. These are not stories of monsters. They're stories of hands, shaking, sweating, trembling hands, trying to help. And though the cures were often cruel, the love behind them was not. We'll meet patients who never screamed, not because they didn't feel it, but because they couldn't afford to. Healers who closed their eyes as they cauterized, not out of coldness, but prayer. And families who waited outside, counting the seconds, listening for a sound they hoped would never come. So, close your eyes if you like. Let the candlelight flicker in the corners of your mind. And let's begin. It begins in a room where silence hums louder than sound. The walls are clay, rounded by the hands of those who lived here before. Outside, the wind pulls dust across the doorway like a slow broom sweeping the desert floor. But inside, everything has stopped. A woman sits cross-legged in the corner. Her hands are not idle. They grind something dark in a small stone bowl. Powdered herbs, perhaps. Or ash, maybe both. Beside her, a small boy lies still on a woven mat, his brow damp with sweat, his lips slightly parted. His mother hums something low and without melody, as if trying to hold the air in place. The pain had begun 2 moons ago. First behind the eyes. Then louder, deeper, as though something inside his skull was pressing outward. The village healer came on the 3rd day, clutching a bundle of reeds and bone. She whispered that it was the wind spirit, trapped inside the boy's head, and that the only way to release it was to let it out. And so they prepared. If you're enjoying this pace already, leave a soft like below and subscribe if you'd like more nights like this. The bowl in her hands now holds charcoal, wild thyme, and the scrapings from a river stone that once sat in the sun for 3 days straight. The mixture smells sharp and earthy, and when placed over the fire, it lets off a pale blue smoke. Not much, just enough to make the boy's lashes flutter. A bronze tool waits in the corner, its edges dark with use, not sharp, more like a scoop, curved gently, the shape of a small crescent moon. It's been passed through 6 hands this morning, from the herbalist to the bronze worker to the village elder, then back again, each offering a prayer, a whisper, a moment of breath held. Trepanation, we would call it now. A hole cut into the skull, not to kill, but to free, to release the evil, the pressure, the spirit, the pain. In some places, it was done with flint. In others, obsidian. But here, it would be bronze. The healer places her hand on the boy's forehead. Her thumb traces the place she will begin. just above the temple, near the edge where hair becomes scalp. She breathes in the smoke. So does the boy. And then she starts. It is not quick. The bronze tool must scrape gently, repeatedly, like the tide wearing down stone. The first layers are skin, then bone. The boy does not cry, but his chest rises and falls like a sea, trying to stay still. His mother's hum grows quieter, but does not stop. There is no rush here, no urgency, no shouting. The healer works slowly, pausing to wipe her hand, to listen. Outside, life continues. Goats shuffle past the door. The wind taps gently at the reed mat. Someone far off is grinding grain. The world does not pause for pain. It takes an hour, maybe two. Time here does not move in minutes, but in breaths. When the bone finally yields, it does so without cracking, just softens, as though it understands. A soft dark spot appears, and then carefully the healer removes a sliver of the skull. Just one, no more. Beneath it, the skin of the brain. Pulses, not bleeding, but alive. She does not touch it. She only waits. And then, the smoke. The mixture in the bowl has been burning low, releasing a slow curl of blue-gray vapor. Now, with the skull open, she brings the bowl closer. She does not blow into the wound. No, that would anger the spirits. Instead, she lets the smoke drift, soft and lazy, toward the opening. It dances above the boy's head, and some of it disappears inside. It's symbolic, mostly. But symbols are powerful. The spirit is appeased. The pain has a path now. It can leave. The boy stirs. Just once, his hand twitches, and then he sleeps. Not deeply, not safely, but more than he had. The wound will be covered with linen and honey, bound with leather strips soaked in salt. Every day for the next cycle of the moon, the healer will return, to change the cloth, to whisper to the spirit, to watch the boy's eyes for signs of light returning. He will live, or he will not, but they will have tried, and that is everything. Some of the skulls found centuries later, buried beneath desert sands or forgotten in crumbling tombs, bear the round signature of this ritual. Smooth holes healed around the edges, not from violence, from medicine, from a hope older than science, quieter than reason. They believed in pain as a path, in healing as a partnership between human and spirit, in the body as something you could open like a door, if only you were careful, gentle, reverent. And maybe they were right. Tonight, somewhere deep in time, the wind still moves over desert rooftops. Smoke still curls above fire bowls. And someone still waits beside a bed, watching, hoping, humming. Let's leave them there, quiet, whole, in their way. And follow the pain. Where it wanders next. The room is bright. Unnaturally so, not from the sun, but from the fire. It crackles. In the corner, fed by olive oil and dry wood, flames licking up toward the soot-blackened ceiling. The walls are stone, cold to the touch, but the air inside is heavy with heat. You can feel it in your breath. Thick, metallic, like it carries something ancient. A man lies on a table in the center, a rough sheet draped across his legs. His chest glistens, not with sweat, but with something rubbed there moments before. Vinegar, crushed garlic, possibly lamb's fat. The healer is preparing him, and not for comfort. No one is rushing. No one is panicking. But there is purpose in every movement. The man's fever has lasted 4 days now. His skin burns to the touch, yet he shivers like it's winter in the hills. His teeth have chattered through the night, his lips cracked open with thirst. And though they've offered him water, figs, even diluted wine, his tongue only moans in sleep. In ancient Greece, sickness was a question of balance. Fire and water, dry and wet, warmth and cold. And fever, that relentless heat crawling through. The blood was proof the balance had shattered Dot, so they would restore it the only way they knew how. The healer enters, tall and deliberate, his linen robes tinged with ash and oil. He does not look at the man right away. Instead, he leans over the fire, stirs the pot that hangs above it, checks the metal instruments resting on the heated stone nearby, bronze tweezers, a small hooked knife, and the round-bottomed cups made of horn or clay or glass, waiting to be turned into blisters. He whispers something under his breath, not to the gods necessarily, but to himself. A grounding, a rhythm. Then he turns, and the work begins. He starts with the cups, places 1, 2, 3 across the man's back, each carefully warmed and filled with air hot enough to burn the skin. As he sets them down, the fire is sealed inside. The air cools, contracts, and the skin is pulled upward into the cups. Belly, a soft hiss, a muffled pop. The man twitches, then stills again. Cupping was not for the weak-hearted. It wasn't spa treatment. It was a kind of invocation, a way of drawing sickness out through the skin, through the welts and bruises, as if the body itself could speak its pain aloud. The healer watches the cups closely. He does not time them. He waits for the skin to blister, not grotesquely, just enough to show that the body is responding, that the poison inside has been called forward. The man's breath is ragged now, shallow, but his color is changing. The deep flush of fever has lightened, just slightly, like steam escaping from a sealed jar. But it isn't enough that the next step is crueler. A shallow cut, just below the shoulder blade. The skin parts without protest, already softened from the heat. Blood wells up, sluggish and dark. Not pouring, but seeping. The healer wipes it gently with a cloth, then again, until it runs thinner, brighter. They believe that blood held both power and poison, that by removing the darkest part, thick, tar-like blood they called bad humors, the body could breathe again, could remember what it was like to be whole. He repeats the process on the other side, a mirror of pain, a balance of release. The man groans now, faintly, but it's a human sound, not the silence of slipping away. And in this place, that is a victory. The healer wraps the wounds with linen, soaked in wine and thyme. Not antiseptic, perhaps, not in our sense, but sacred, symbolic, comforting. He whispers again, this time louder. Words the man may not hear, but the walls do. The fire does, and maybe the fever too. For now, it recedes. For now, that is enough. Outside, the hills stretch wide and open, sun laying gold over the olive trees. A dog barks somewhere in the distance. A woman hums as she collects herbs from the garden, the same garden that will offer the next cure or the next mistake. Inside, the room cools slowly. The cups are removed. A fire left to burn down on. Its own. The man sleeps, this time deeper. Not cured, but steadied, re-centered, as if his blood has remembered its direction. And when he wakes, if he wakes, he will feel raw, aching, but lighter. This was not magic. It was ritual, rooted not in science, but observation. Not perfection, but pattern. They had no thermometers, no bacteria to see, no pills to swallow, only the body's language and the tools to listen to it, boiling the evil out with heat, with knives, with bruises. And in doing so, inviting balance back in Dot, it is a strange kind of mercy. But mercy all the same. Let's step quietly away from the stone room now. Let the fire burn itself low. Let the fever rest, for now Dot, and follow the pain. To where the leeches. Wait. It starts with water. Still, dark water, collected from a stream behind the village, where reeds grow thick and frogs hum low in the evenings. The water smells faintly of earth and old wood, but it's alive. Alive in ways you can't see unless you look closely. And in that clay bowl of water, something stirs. Thin and slow, like a strand of hair moving against the current. It curves, lingers. Wait, this is not a story of screens or iron tools. Not today. This is a story of quiet blood, drawn out drop by drop, by mouths without teeth, hands, or malice. This is the story of the leech. The cottage is small. You know the kind. The walls built from cob and thatch, stitched together with time and habit. Inside, there's a small hearth glowing in the corner, casting golden shapes against the low rafters. A loaf of bread rests near the heat, its crust turning hard. A child sleeps on a pile of blankets in the corner, one arm limp, one eye barely open. And on the other side of the room, the mother kneels. Her husband is lying flat on a wooden bench, his skin pale, lips tinged blue. He hasn't stood in 3 days. The fever passed, but something lingered. A heaviness in the chest, a grayness under the eyes. The neighbors whispered of bad blood. That sometimes the sickness doesn't leave. It just hides, curling up behind the heart, waiting for its chance to strike again. So they called the healer. She arrives without fanfare. Just a soft knock, a bundle beneath her arm, a scent of garlic and rosemary clinging to her dress. She says little. She never does. Instead, she asks for warm cloths, water from the stream, and a quiet room. And from that bundle, she pulls the jar. Glass, clouded with use. Inside, it moves. A dozen. Leeches, dark and glistening, twining together like ink strokes in water. Some fat, some thin. All waiting. If you're still settling in, maybe leave a quiet like on this video and consider subscribing only if it feels right. Leeches weren't fearsome. Not then. They were medicine, tools, helpers. Some families kept them near the hearth, fed them like pets, believed they could sense illness before it showed. The healer opens the jar slowly, reaches in with practiced fingers, selects one, large, sluggish, promising. Then another, and another. The man doesn't resist. He only closes his eyes. His arm is cleaned gently. Then again. And then she places the first leech just below, the elbow, near a vein that shows itself when the skin is warm. The creature hesitates, then fastens. Its mouth, tiny and circular, finds its mark. It doesn't hurt. Only a tingle. A gentle pull. Like being drawn downward by sleep. Soon, 3 leeches are working, drinking, their bodies plumping with each drop. They swell slowly, their shape changing from thin reeds to small, heavy pouches. They move as they feed, not crawling, but adjusting, sensing, satisfying. The healer hums, not for them, for the room, to keep it steady. Balanced. It takes time. An hour, maybe 2, long enough for the fire to settle, for the child to roll over in sleep, for the mother's hands to stop. Trembling. When the leeches have had enough, they let go on their own. They drop with the weight of fullness, a soft wet sound onto the waiting cloth. One rolls slightly, engorged and dazed. The healer sets them gently back in the jar. She'll return them to the stream tomorrow. Always return them. Never kill them. That would be unlucky. The man's arm continues to bleed, just a little. That's good. That means the blood is flowing again, that it remembers how to move. The healer applies a poultice, moss and vinegar, bound with wool, and nods. He will live. She says softly. Not certainly, but gently. She gathers her things. Doesn't charge. Only accepts a few slices of bread wrapped in cloth. She's thanked in silence, with a bowed head. That's enough. Later, the man will wake. He'll feel lightheaded, cold, but somehow cleaner. emptied of something he couldn't name. And when he looks down at the small round wounds, he'll think of mouths without teeth, and the quiet grace of something strange saving his life. Leeches were used for centuries, in castles and huts, for kings and babies, for nosebleeds, for fevers, for melancholy and madness. Doctors carried them in satchels. Barbers kept them in jars. Apothecaries traded them like spice. And sometimes they worked, not always, not magically. But sometimes the logic was flawed, but the effort was not. They believed the body needed help to speak, that sickness needed to be drawn out, not forced, that healing could come not from fire or knives, but from patience, from stillness, from something soft and ancient as the stream that fed their village. Tonight, the fire dims. The man sleeps and in a glass jar near the door. The leeches rest too, full, peaceful, unknowingly thanked. Let's leave them there. Move now to another room, where the cure is darker still, where ashes meet the eye. The day begins without color. The desert is pale, the sky a thin wash of linen white, and the sun, already rising, moves slowly like a coin pressed through sand. In the distance, the river shimmers, its surface still and shining, like the skin of something asleep. But here, inside the temple walls, all light is filtered through cloth and smoke. The healer's chamber smells of frankincense and something bitter, not unpleasant, but sharp, like a memory that doesn't quite belong. Tall jars line the walls, each labeled in fading ink. Powdered myrrh, dried lizard tail, salt crystals the size of fingernails. There are also ashes, sifted fine, kept in clay pots sealed with beeswax. A young woman kneels by the doorway. Her head is bowed. A linen wrap covers her eyes. The cloth is stained in the middle, yellow, gray, pink. Her breathing is quiet but uneven, and every few seconds, her jaw twitches like she's biting down on something invisible. She hasn't seen clearly in weeks. The sandstorms came early this season, and in their wake came the grit, sharp grains, carried into every crevice, behind eyelids, beneath lashes. Infection followed. Not a roaring fire, but a slow burn. Weeping, clouding, aching. She was told to wait, that it would pass. But it didn't, and so she came here, to the priest healer, the one with the jars and the ashes. He doesn't speak much, only gestures. The temple is sacred and sound is rationed. He moves like smoke, fluid, quiet, leaving scent but not sound. He gathers his materials, a reed brush, a bowl of warm goat's milk, a small square of linen, and the ash, but not just any ash. This comes from a sacred fire, one that burned embalming oils, sandalwood, and the hair of the recently dead. In this land, death was not feared. It was knowledgeable, and what had touched the other side might. Just know what to do. The brush is dipped into the milk, then into the ash, then gently rolled across the linen until the mixture becomes a fine paste, not thick, but clinging, like a whisper caught in wet cloth. He kneels beside the girl. She does not flinch. She knows this part. He removes the wrap. Her eyelids are swollen, rimmed with red. A crust forms at the corners. Her pupils dart toward him, though they see only a blur. Her mouth opens, not in protest, just breath. He does not wait. He presses the ash paste to the corner of her left eye. Just a dab. Then a stroke, like an artist with a trembling canvas. She tenses, then stills. The ash stings, not like fire, but like light returning. Like the eye remembering what it was built to do. Sense, receive, weep. If you're enjoying this pace already, leave a soft like below and subscribe if you'd like more nights like this. He works quickly now. The right eye next. Then he folds a fresh cloth. dips it in cooled milk, and lays it over her face. The ritual is complete. She lies there, wrapped in shadow and scent. The ash will draw out the heat, they say, absorb the poison, burn away the film that clouds her gaze. It's part science, part symbolism. But so is most healing. And when the sting fades, the weeping will begin. The tears, now coaxed by pain, will cleanse what time and storm have left behind. He leaves her in silence. Outside, the river waits. Not rushing, not churning, just there, as it has always been. The current is slow this morning, drifting past reeds that sway in rhythm to nothing in particular. Somewhere downstream, other healers prepare similar cures, with crushed blue lotus, with honey, with oils pressed from the heads of fish. But here, in this chamber, it is ash that holds the memory of vision. She rests, and as she lies beneath the cloth, she begins to feel the world return. Not clearly, not yet, but in shapes, in brightness, in the ghost of a shadow crossing the ceiling. She will need another treatment tomorrow, perhaps again after that. The cure is not instant, but the pain has changed that it no longer consumes. It flickers dot, and that, for now, is enough. We do not often think of eyes when we think of suffering. But in the old world, they were sacred, not just organs, but oracles. Sight was not only a sense, it was a bridge. And when it failed, it was mourned like a friend dot, so they tried to save it with what they had. With milk, with soot, with prayer dots sometimes. It worked, and even when it didn't, they had tried. And they had not left the suffering to face the dark alone. Tonight, let's step back from the temple. Let the incense rise. Let the girl rest dot and follow the pain. To a place even gentler, but no less cruel, where pain whispers through the tooth. Night is slow, thick with damp air and the scent of firewood smoldering just past its brightest burn. The hut is quiet, save for the occasional pop of sap from the logs and a low, irregular breath coming from someone lying curled beneath a blanket, stitched with years. Outside, the wind has settled. Even the animals are still. But inside, pain keeps a rhythm. It taps against the jaw like a drum. Someone won't stop beating. Not hard, just constant. Steady, enough to wake you when you almost sleep. Enough to make the world feel like it's narrowing, closing in toward one aching tooth. There's a woman sitting upright on a stool. Her hands are in her lap. She hasn't moved for a while. She only stares at the hearth, where an iron rod rests in the coals, its end glowing orange like a single silent eye. Her husband lies beside her on the floor. His face is pale, soaked with sweat. But the pain is older than the fever. This began a week ago. A small ache behind the back tooth, then swelling, then fire. Now, half his jaw feels like it's filled with smoke and broken glass. They tried herbs first, crushed garlic and salt packed against the gum, then oil of clove, if they could find it. But it didn't hold. The pain pushed through. It kept pushing, and now there's no more waiting. A neighbor had told them of a cure. Crude, painful, but final. Better the fire once, they'd said, than the ache forever. And so here they are. The healer is a man who smells of sheep wool and smoke. He speaks gently, but not often. He sets a small wooden wedge between the man's teeth near the front to keep the mouth open. The tooth that hurts is further back, swollen, black around the edge. A dark, angry pearl hiding in the cave of his jaw. If you're still settling in, maybe leave a quiet like on this video and consider subscribing only. If it feels right dot, the iron rod is nearly ready now. The tip glows like a dying star. The healer lifts it slowly, steadies his hand, and waits, not for silence. There's already plenty of that dot. He waits for stillness. The kind that means surrender. Not fear, just readiness. And when it comes, in the form of a shallow nod, a clenched eye, a sharp breath, he moves. The rod doesn't touch the tooth directly. That would shatter it. Instead, it's placed against the swollen gum beside it, just for a moment. 1 heartbeat, 2. Sound is soft, a hiss. Then the smell, sharp, immediate, unmistakable. Burnt flesh. The man jerks once, then goes quiet again. No screaming. Not here. There's no room for that kind of sound. The rod is returned to the fire, cooled in a basin. The room darkens slightly, as if the pain itself took some of the light. With it, the woman wipes her husband's brow. She does not speak. He breathes, shallow but steady. The healer nods. That's enough. The infection won't vanish overnight. But it has been stopped at the gate, cauterized, cautioned, sealed by fire. Sometimes the tooth itself is pulled, but only when it's loose enough to give, only when the jaw allows it. Otherwise, they burn it, not to save the tooth, but to save the person from what the tooth might become. Rot was a silent killer in the old world. A single tooth could poison the blood. A bit of marrow turned dark could end a life. So they met it with fire. Crude, yes, but effective. Sometimes, and more importantly, final. Because sometimes in pain, what people need most is to know, to be certain, that the worst has passed, that they've done what must be done, that they can finally sleep without waking to fire in the jaw. Outside, dawn is slowly beginning to stain the sky. The stars blink slower. The smoke from the hearth curls toward a roof patched with clay and hope. Inside, the woman lowers herself to the floor. She takes her husband's hand, careful not to disturb the poultice now pressed against his cheek. His eyes flutter, not in pain, but in something close to rest. And if the pain comes back, then they'll face it again. But for tonight, it is done. There's a kind of sacredness in that. In doing what's hard, in enduring what scorches, in stepping into fire because it's the only thing left. Let's step quietly away now. Let the embers fade. Let the breath even, and follow the pain. Not to heat, but to suction. To a gentler agony, drawn out through cups and smoke. In a quiet room behind a silk curtain, the world is warm and waiting. The light comes not from torches or flame, but from the soft glow of an oil lamp balanced on a carved wooden stand. Its reflection trembles across a row of polished cups, glass, bamboo, horn, each shaped like a small bell waiting to be rung. The walls are painted with muted symbols, rising clouds, rippling waves, a crane mid-flight. They don't command attention. They keep it, as if asking every visitor to breathe slower, to sit down, to let the heat do its work. A man lies flat on a mat of woven reeds, his robe folded loosely at the waist. His back is bare, his skin pale with tension. Thin scars trace across his shoulders, some from labor, others from healing. His breath is shallow, but steady. He has come because of the weight, not one you can see, but one he carries beneath the skin. A tightness, a heaviness, a sense that something inside him is clenched into fists and won't let go. His limbs ache in the mornings. His chest feels thick by night. His sleep is shallow, restless, like being chased by something slow and invisible. They tell him this is no illness, that it is energy, misdirected, heat trapped in the blood, wind caught beneath the flesh. So he has come here. For release. The healer moves soundlessly. She has done this thousands of times. Her steps are as practiced as breath. Her hands are warm, her sleeves loose, her expression unreadable, not unkind, but focused. She lights a cotton ball soaked in wine and sets it aflame. If you're enjoying this pace already, leave a soft light below and subscribe if you'd like more nights like this. The flame flutters. She moves swiftly. Holding the cup in one hand, she dips the fire briefly into its hollow center, then places the mouth of the cup against his back. A soft pop dot, the flame consumes the oxygen. The air cools. A vacuum forms. And the skin beneath. The cup lifts, drawn upward like a silent tide. He exhales, not in pain, but surprise. The warmth is strange, not burning, just present. As though the body is being remembered by something older than thought. One by one, she places the cups along his spine. 4, then 6, and 10. Each small dome becomes a little world, distorting the skin beneath like a bubble in still water. That the pull isn't painful. Not exactly. But it demands surrender, and he gives it. He lies still while the cups do their work, not just drawing the flesh, but coaxing something unseen. Heat, wind, grief, stagnation. The healer's people have no word for depression, not in the way. We use it, but they know what it feels like, and they know it can be drawn out. Bit by bit, he begins to sweat. This is good. The body has remembered how to open, how to let go. She waits with him, adjusts the cups gently as they darken. Some of the skin is already bruising, deep purple and soft black, but only on the surface. It looks dramatic. But beneath, things are softening. Tension releases through color. There are no words in the room, only breath. The flame now extinguished. The air still holds its heat. She begins to remove the cups. One by one, each releases with a sigh, like the final exhale of someone who's been holding in a secret. The skin below is raised, tender, but no longer hard. She cleans the circles with warm tea and a cloth soaked in ginger water. Her hands move without urgency, just care. He remains on the mat, eyes open now, but distant. He feels hollow, but not empty. More like clear in the villages. They say that fire knows where to go, that it listens to pain the way the ear listens to wind. Cupping was never just medicine. It was conversation. Between skin and heat. Between memory and muscle. It is not about curing always. It is about shifting. Making space. Letting something go. When he stands, his back aches in a different way. Not sharp, just exposed. Like something has been lifted, and now the body must learn what to do without it. He nods his thanks. Doesn't speak. She wouldn't want him to. Outside, the sun is beginning to fade. The world smells of late summer. Warm leaves, rice drying in distant baskets. Someone burning lemongrass on a porch nearby. He walks home slower than usual, but lighter, less haunted. The bruises will fade in days. The heat in his blood may rise again, but for tonight he will sleep deeply. DREAMLESS lie. And perhaps that is all the healing anyone needs. Let's step out now, past the silk curtain, past the trembling cups, back into the cool of twilight. We'll leave the fire too. Rest. And follow the pain. Into a time when it wore a mask. When plague came knocking. It didn't knock, really. It slipped in, like mist under a doorframe. Like breath held too long. Like a shadow that lengthens without sound. The plague didn't begin with bells. It began with silence. A father who didn't rise for bread. A child who slept through morning and didn't wake for stew. A cough, hushed. A shiver, ignored. And then the smell, sweet, sickly, unnatural, that crept in and stayed. This is a story of doors closed from the outside. Of windows nailed shut. Of whole villages speaking in whispers, as if louder words might summon it faster. But still, it came. The cottage is small. Thatched roof, uneven floor, smoke-stained rafters, above a hearth that hasn't held a steady fire in days. The woman inside is young, but her eyes have aged too quickly. She wears 2 aprons, not for modesty, but because it's said to block the smell. Around her neck, a sachet of herbs, rosemary, lavender, and crushed juniper berries. A charm against death. A prayer made into fabric. Her husband lies on the floor, curled in the posture of a child not born but broken. His skin is blotched, blue and black and pale, all at once. His breath rattles. His eyes do not close. And at his neck, the swelling. Bulbous, angry, cruel, pulses like a thing alive. She's tried everything. She boiled vinegar and held it beneath his nose. Tied garlic at every window. Burned sage until the rafters wept. She even begged the priest, who offered a blessing from a safe distance and a promise that God knew what he was doing. But the swelling still came. First behind the ears, then under the arms, and then lower. And when they burst, the smell drove her to the edge of the room. So she waits. She cannot help. She can only stay. And that, in this time, is more than most would do. If you're still settling in, maybe leave. Quiet like on this video, and consider subscribing only if it feels right. In some places, they used onions, sliced and placed beside the patient's head, believed to pull the poison from the lungs. In others, toads were placed on the swellings. Live ones. Their struggle was thought to absorb the illness. She tried that too. Toad died. Quickly, they said to drink ale boiled with crushed emerald. To hold your breath and run through the village square before sunrise. To burn all of your clothes and start again. The apothecary offered her a small jar of tar, mixed with ash and fat. He told her to rub it along her wrists and inner thighs, where the breath of the dying might linger. She did. And still she stayed. There were other methods, harsher ones. Doctors, if they could be called that, dressed like birds, long beaked masks stuffed with herbs and vinegar-soaked cloth. Their robes were heavy, waxed to resist the air. They looked like ghosts pretending to be men. They came with sticks, not for walking, for touching. No hand would meet skin. No comfort would be shared. Those who could afford it paid for. Sweet-smelling rooms, music, poetry, dances performed for the dying, as if beauty could coax away the rot. But in this cottage, there is none of that. Only the rasp of fire, the cough that rises and does not fall, and a woman who refuses to leave. She lights another candle, not because it's dark, but because she's afraid of what she'll see if it isn't. There is no cure coming, not in the morning, not in the next town, not from the heavens, but there is a quiet here, and that is something, because when the plague came, it took not only breath, it took dignity. It stripped the body of order, of rhythm, of the simple things that made a person feel real. So she holds on to the last things. A damp cloth, a whispered song, the corners of a quilt sewn by her mother, the soft sound of bread cooling by the fire. Even if no one is hungry. She stays with him until the breath stops, and when it does, she does not scream. She covers his eyes, pulls the blanket over his chest, opens the window just an inch so his spirit can find its way out, and then she waits, quietly. For what comes next. Sometimes plague doesn't look like bodies in the street. Sometimes it looks like a room with one chair no longer warm, like a silence that won't stop humming, like bread that's gone too hard to eat. She'll be gone by morning. The neighbors will find the door open, the fire low, the house quiet, and they will know. They always know. History remembers the plague in numbers. Whole cities gone, ships adrift, mass graves carved into the hills. But we forget the small stories, the single breath, the damp cloth, the woman who stayed. Let's remember her. Let's leave the door half open. Let the fire flicker down. Let the silence return. And follow the pain now to the battlefield, where bones were broken, not by illness, but by steel. It begins with dust, a fine layer of it drifting across the training yard at dawn. Dust kicked up by sandals, by hooves, by the slow turning of wheeled carts carrying water, wood, and sometimes men who would not return the way they left. The air is dry, scented with iron and sweat and something bitter underneath. The quiet promise of pain. In a Roman camp, mornings were not lazy. Men woke with the sun, not because they wanted to, but because they were told to. Discipline was its own kind of medicine here, predictable, brutal, comforting. The soldiers trained in silence, shields raised, javelins thrown, swords drawn with mechanical precision. But sometimes a misstep, a twist of the knee, a fall on uneven ground, a clang of metal followed by a silence that meant something had gone wrong. And when that happened, the wounded were carried to the back tent. The medicus did not wear white. He wore stained wool, hands roughened by years of stitching flesh and setting bone. His tools were not delicate. They clinked in a leather pouch like coins in a gambler's bag. Bone saws, curved knives, scalpels, hooks, clamps, tools of war. Not of comfort. The tent was hot, always hot, whether from the season or from the blood that warmed the straw beneath the cots. No one knew. The medicus kept no fire, not unless he needed to cauterize. But the heat hung in the air, like breath too close to your face. A young man is brought in. His arm is limp, bent backward, the elbow swollen and strange. His face is pale, eyes wide, lips bitten nearly through. He does not scream, not yet. Roman soldiers were trained to hold that in. But the silence is heavy. The medicus does not ask his name. He does not need it. He touches the shoulder, presses the joint. The soldier flinches. Just once. Enough to confirm what the medicus already knows. Dislocation. Maybe fracture. The bones must be set. Or lost. There is no privacy in this tent. No family. No comfort. Only function. And function demands pain. If you're enjoying this pace already, leave a soft like below and subscribe if you'd like more nights like this. The medicus signals his assistant. A grizzled man missing 2 fingers and half an ear. Together, they brace the soldier's arm. One holds the wrist, the other the upper bicep. And then a pull. Hard, relentless. A grinding sound like stone dragged across stone. And a pop. Not sharp, but deep, like something ancient returning to its place. The soldier does not cry out, but his chest heaves, his eyes close, and something inside him collapses. Not his bone, but his resistance. The joint is in place. Now for the wrapping. Thin strips of linen soaked in vinegar are wound around the arm, stiffened with honey and crushed herbs. It will harden into a brace, stiff enough to keep the limb still, soft enough to sleep on. The medicus does not linger. Another man is brought in, this one on a stretcher. His leg is wrong, too short, twisted at the thigh. Bone visible, white, and red and glistening. This will not be a setting. This will be a removal. The medicus sighs, not with emotion, but preparation. He selects a saw, curved and thin, and lays it beside a torch that flickers low. He pours wine into the man's mouth, not to dull the pain, not truly, just to slow the panic, to remind the body that warmth still exists. The assistant steadies the leg, and then the saw begins. There is no screaming, not because it doesn't hurt. But because the soldier has bitten through the strap of leather in his mouth, and the sound of the sawing is louder than anything else. The leg is taken, not neatly, but quickly. The wound is wrapped in wool, soaked in boiling oil, been sealed with pitch. It hisses like meat on a pan. The air thickens with the smell, and still the medicus moves on. There is no mourning here, no space for it. These are the bone breakers. the flesh menders, the ones who kept men standing long enough to die another day. Sometimes the soldier lived. Sometimes he didn't. Either way, the bandage was tied. The tools cleaned. The cot swept, because in the Roman world, efficiency was mercy. Pain was a step, not a stopping point, and no one came here to be saved. They came to be made usable again. Outside, the dust still swirls. The sun climbs higher. The carts keep moving. The soldier with the reset arm will return to the field. The one with one leg will be given a new duty, sharpening blades, feeding horses, guarding tents at night. They will both carry the sound of the medicus with them. The smell, the strange tenderness of someone who never said their name, but saved them all the same. Let's step out of the tent now, leave the bone dust and vinegar behind, and follow the pain to a place with less steel, but no less heat, where vinegar and sticks were offered instead of sleep. There are no torches in this room, only the glow of a small lamp, its flame barely dancing, its oil running low. The walls are wood, not finely, carved but simple, softened by the smoke that has seeped into every grain. There's a draft that slips through the cracks in the shutters, carrying with it the quiet breath of midnight. A man lies still on a table that was once used for bread making. Now it holds something heavier, not his weight, but his pain. He's not a soldier, not a king, just someone who got unlucky. A boil had formed near his thigh, slow at first, then sudden, the size of a bean, then a plum, and something angrier. Now he cannot walk, cannot stand. The flesh is swollen, tight, red as embers, and it pulses as if it has its own heartbeat. He's burning from the inside out. There is no hospital, only the barber surgeon, a man who sharpens blades in the morning and cuts flesh by firelight. Tonight, he has been called in. His hands are steady. His apron is stained but dry. He rolls up his sleeves with the slow familiarity of someone who has done this 100 times. No anesthesia. Not here. Not in this century. Only vinegar. And a stick. If you're enjoying this pace already, leave. A soft like below. And subscribe if you'd like more nights like this. He pours the vinegar first, not onto the wound, but into a bowl. Warms it by the fire. Not too much. Just enough to keep it from shocking the flesh. Then he dips the blade, short, thin, and cruelly sharp, into the vinegar. Cleansing, they say, though whether it cleans the wound or just the conscience, no one knows. Then he offers the man the stick. It's been bitten before. The teeth marks show it. Some deeper than others. The man takes it with trembling hands, slides it between his molars, and grips it like the mast of a ship in a storm. The surgeon begins. A small cut just beneath the boil. The skin resists, then splits with a soft, wet sound. Pus spills out like old milk. The smell is sharp, sour and sweet and unmistakable. The man groans, but he doesn't cry out. He bites the stick harder. The pain crests, then holds. It doesn't go away, but it changes. Like thunder rolling further into the distance. The surgeon presses the skin gently, coaxing out the rest. Then he pours the warm vinegar into the wound. The man shudders. His toes curl. But still, no scream. Only the stick, now slick with spit, and the echo of restraint. The wound will not be stitched. Not yet. It must stay open. They say let the evil out. Let it breathe. He'll be packed with linen soaked in wine and wrapped in wool. Tomorrow, the bandages will be changed. And again the next day. If he lives. If. That word hangs in the air. More than the smoke, because many didn't, even from something small. A boil, a toothache, a cut on the ankle. All it took was time. Just enough time for the body to forget how to fight. The man rests now, exhausted, drained, but no longer burning. He holds the stick in his lap like a relic, and maybe it is Dot for many. It was the only thing they had to hold on to, something to bite, something to ground them. A piece of wood, yes, but also a symbol of the choice to endure, to stay, to not run from the blade, but lean into it. Pain was not a choice, but facing it was. The barber surgeon cleans his blade, wipes it with linen, returns it to his satchel. He nods once, not to the man, not even to himself, just to the room, as if saying, "It is done, for now." He steps into the cold night. The door closes gently behind him. Not inside. The man sleeps. Not deeply, but without fire in his thigh. Dot, and sometimes that is enough. Dot, in time, he'll walk again. Slowly, with a limp perhaps, but he'll remember the blade, the vinegar, and the taste of wood on his tongue. And in that memory, there is something holy. Dot, not in the pain, but in the surviving of it. Let's leave him there, wrapped in wool, breathing steady. Dot, and follow the pain to where it walks with the wind, where bone meets ice, where healing means needles and vision. The wind here is not a visitor. It is a presence. Dot. It howls low across the steppe, never still, never fully gone, always breathing through the grass, through the yurt walls, through the hair of those who live close to the earth and far from everything else. The sky stretches wider than belief. The land rolls like a quiet sea, and in the center of it all sits a woman wrapped in fur, holding something that gleams faintly in the morning light. A bone needle. Dot, thin, honed, ancient. Dot, it was carved by her grandfather's hand, passed down with no ceremony, only the weight of repetition. And in her hands now, it is both tool and prayer. The man who lies before her is not dying, but something has gone wrong inside him. His shoulder hangs low. His chest tightens when he breathes. And though he does not say it aloud, there are nights when his hands will not stop shaking. This is not a place where you speak easily of pain. You carry it in silence, as the sky carries its clouds, moving, always moving, but rarely weeping. Came here because he trusts her, because he has tried heat and smoke, and still the pain coils like a snake beneath his ribs. Now it is her turn to listen. She does not ask for symptoms. She does not demand words. She watches his posture, his pulse, the way his eyelids tremble, even in rest, and then she prepares. If you're still settling in, maybe leave a quiet like on this video and consider subscribing only if it feels right. Yurt is warm, kept so by a stove made of iron and packed with coal. The air inside smells of pine resin and the faint sweetness of boiled horse milk. She opens her pouch and removes a bundle of wrapped thread, sinew dyed red, used to mark the points she will touch. She lays out the bone needles on a cloth. There are 9 of them, each a different length, each with a story. Dot. He lies on a mat covered in sheepskin, the kind passed down from mother to daughter. The fur is soft, forgiving. It welcomes his weight. Dot. She begins by pressing his skin, just her fingers, first along the neck, then the back, then the chest. She does not speak, but she knows where to begin. The first needle is warmed slightly in her hands, not with fire, with breath. Dot. Then she places it just above his right shoulder blade, not plunged, not stabbed, but eased, like parting the grass for the wind to pass through. He flinches, not from pain, but from sensation. The body is not used to being touched this way, not with such quiet intention. Dot. Another needle follows, then a third, one near the base of the skull, one beneath the ribs, one at the wrist, each inserted slowly, as if she's threading something invisible back together. She calls them wind threads. The pain, she believes, is caused by trapped air, wind turned bitter, caught beneath the skin. The needles do not chase it away. They open the doors. Let it out gently. Let it know it's been heard. He begins to breathe differently now. Longer. Slower. His hands no longer curl. His jaw softens. He is not asleep, but drifting. Somewhere between thought and memory. She hums quietly. Not a song. A sound to keep rhythm. The fire hums with her. The needles stay for the time it takes to brew tea. That's how her mother taught her. Remove the needles when the tea is sweet. And when the tea is ready, dark, steaming, strong, she lifts each needle in reverse order. One by one. None of them are bloody. None bent. They lie on the cloth like fallen reeds. She offers him the tea. He drinks it slowly, eyes not yet fully returned from wherever he went. He does not speak, but when he stands taller, looser. His shoulders no longer carry the sky alone. Outside, the wind has softened. Not stopped, never that, but quieted. As though it too has exhaled. He steps out into the cold, breath curling like smoke from his lips. He does not thank her with words. He bows, low, deep. She nods once, then returns inside. She'll clean the needles with milk and ash. Rewrap them. Store them until they are needed again. She never charges for her work. The people bring gifts instead. Cheese, wool, wild berries in the spring. And sometimes they bring stories of how the pain didn't return. Or if it did, it came back gentler. The body, she believes, is a drum. Sometimes it just needs to be retuned. Let's leave the step now. Let the fire crackle on. Let the wind sing through the grass and follow the pain into a darker place where healing meant burning, where skin was blistered on purpose. It begins with a jar. Small, round, unassuming. The glass is thick, cloudy with age, and sealed tightly with waxed cloth. Inside, the contents are golden brown, thick as honey, bitter as regret. A mustard paste. Not the kind you'd find on a plate, but the kind you'd press into the chest of a fevered child and pray it would draw the fire out. This is not a hospital. It's a parlor. Polished floorboards, lace curtains, and a fireplace trimmed with carved oak. A respectable home in Victorian England. Somewhere safe. Somewhere warm. But upstairs, past the oil paintings and the family Bible, someone is coughing. The mother walks softly. Her hands are folded. Her eyes are tired in the way only mothers know. That quiet exhaustion that settles not in the body, but in the breath. She's tried broth. She's tried flannel. She's tried the doctor who prescribed rest and patience. But the boy still burns. Still shivers. So now, she turns to something older than science. Something passed down through mother's hands. Mustard plaster. In the kitchen, the housekeeper prepares it. Equal parts flour and powdered mustard seed, mixed with warm water into a thick, sticky paste. The smell is sharp, almost chemical, the kind that wakes the nose and stings the eyes. She spreads it onto a square of muslin cloth, then folds another. Layer over the top. A sandwich of medicine. A poultice of fire. If you're enjoying this pace already, leave a soft like below, and subscribe if you'd like more nights like this. The boy lies in bed, his cheeks red, his brow wet, his breath shallow. He doesn't cry. He's long past the. The mother whispers to him. Says it will be warm. Just warm. She places the cloth over his chest. At first, there's nothing. Then, the warmth begins. Slow, creeping, like sunlight moving across cold stone. Then, hotter. The boy stirs. His fingers twitch. His eyes flutter open, then shut again. The heat spreads beneath the plaster, pulling blood toward the skin, away from the lungs, or so they believed. It was meant to distract the body, to rouse it, to shock it into remembering how to heal. The skin begins to flush. In 5 minutes. It's red. In 10. It's pink and stinging. In 15. Blisters might form. The mother counts each moment. She doesn't. Wait for blisters. She removes the plaster before then. She's done this before. She knows the line between remedy and harm. The boy sighs when it's lifted. His skin is damp, marked with pale blotches and heat. She dabs it gently, applies a salve of lavender and lard, wraps him in clean linen, and waits. The coughing slows, not stops, but quiets. He sleeps. She watches. Mustard plasters were used for everything. Colds, congestion, pneumonia, even aches and grief. The logic was simple. Draw the illness to the surface. Let the skin take it. Let the body purge its ghosts. It was not gentle. But it was not cruel. It was practical. And in that practicality, there was a kind of love. Not poetic. Not soft, but real. In homes across the country, children lay beneath mustard cloths, while parents prayed the skin would redden, because redness meant it was working, that they were doing something, that they were not helpless. Sometimes the burns were too deep. Sometimes the skin broke. Sometimes it didn't help at all. But still, they tried, because in the absence of understanding, effort becomes faith. The jar of paste is set aside. The cloths are soaked in vinegar, washed for reuse. The room is aired, the curtains drawn back just enough to let in the light, not the whole sun. Just enough to soften the shadows. Downstairs, the fireplace crackles. A clock ticks, steady and kind. And upstairs, a small body sleeps. Maybe he will wake in the morning with less weight on his chest. Maybe not. But tonight, the fever was seen. It was felt, answered, pulled into the skin and burned. And sometimes that is the best the old world could offer. Let's close the bedroom door now. Gently. Let the plaster cool. Let the tea steep. Let the child sleep. And follow the pain to a far older place where surgery was sung and stones were removed by hand. The room is carved from stone, but it hums like a throat. A single flame flickers in a niche near the ceiling, casting long shadows across walls rubbed smooth by time. There's no glass here, no steel, but the light moves like water across the limestone floor. And in the center of that rippling gold sits a man with a calm face and a curved blade. Patient is lying flat on a table of carved teak, draped in linen the color of sand. His face is lined with pain, but his body is still, not bound, just willing. He's waited for this moment, not in fear, but in hope. Because inside him, there's a stone, not a metaphor, a real one, hard, unyielding, lodged somewhere deep in the bladder, where it has scraped him from within for years. He has passed blood, fought fevers, lost sleep, and now, with the permission of the gods and the blessing of those who came before, he will be opened, not cut, the healer says. Opened, like a fruit, like a truth, and as the tools are laid out beside him, bronze, not iron, oiled and wrapped in goatskin, the healer begins to sing. It is a low, steady melody, a call to rhythm, a breath turned into music, and it serves two purposes. To calm the man on the table and to steady the hand of the one who will touch his insides. If you're enjoying this pace already, leave a soft like below and subscribe if you'd like more nights like this. In ancient India, surgery was not feared. It was honored. The Shalya Tantra, the art of removing, was taught not in haste, but with reverence. Apprentices trained for years before they were allowed to hold a blade. Not because the hand was unready, but because the heart had to be. Healer has removed stones before, from bladders, from wounds, from women whose wounds would not calm until the thing within was taken out. He does not rush. He places his fingers on the man's belly, feels for the hardness beneath the skin, the pressure point, the story told without words. Then he sings again, a line about rivers, About rain dot, and then the cut dot, it is small, deliberate, just below the navel. The bronze blade parts, the flesh with the grace of something practiced, not cruel. The blood is minimal. He wipes it gently with a cloth dyed in turmeric and salt dot, and then he feels dot 2 fingers. Nothing more. He reaches in, not blindly, but with memory. The stone is there. Small, but sharp. The kind that does not stay still. The kind that moves when you laugh, when you cough, when you dream. He grips it. There's resistance. Of course, the body does not let go easily, but the healer knows how to coax. How to speak without speaking dot and slowly. It comes. He lifts the stone into the light dot. It is brown. Irregular. Glinting with something that might be cruelty or just time. He shows it to the man, not for shock. For closure dot, this was the enemy. This was the source dot now. It is gone. He drops it into a bowl of water. It lands with a soft splash, like a secret return to the earth. The wound is rinsed, packed with herbs, sewn with horsehair, not tight, not closed in a rush. The body must breathe, even in healing. The song quiets now, becomes a hum dot, then silence. The patient is covered. His breath is steady. He will be watched through the night, fed broth, rubbed with oils. Soon to, if needed. And if infection does not come, if fever does not rise, he will walk again. And he will never forget the moment the weight was lifted. Not from his body, but from his being. Surgeons then were not gods, but they were bridges between agony and ease. Between the seen and the unseen. They held pain in their hands, turned it, understood it, and let it go. This was not violence, Dot. This was knowing. Let's leave them now. The patient resting. The healer washing the blade in warm milk and prayers. Let the song fade, Dot, and follow the pain. Into the forest, where herbs speak louder than knives, Dot, where frogs croak their warnings. And poultices begin with superstition. Dot, it smells like earth before rain, Dot, damp, green and vaguely bitter. The scent of something alive being crushed beneath fingers that know what they're doing. In a cottage pressed into the edge of the woods, where moss creeps up the stone and ivy peeks through the shutters, a woman leans over a wooden bowl, grinding something soft and pungent with the back of a spoon. The fire crackles low behind her, not roaring, just warm. Enough to keep the edge off the chill and coax the oils from the herbs. She's humming. Not a song exactly, more of a rhythm. The kind of sound that keeps your hands moving in time. No words. Just the memory of work done by moonlight and silence. The bed behind her, someone is breathing shallowly. A girl, maybe 10 years old. Her arm is swollen to twice its size, wrapped in linen stained yellow and green. There's a wound beneath it, a puncture, small but angry, where something bit or stung or burrowed. No one saw it happen, only that the fever came after. They tried the village doctor first. He offered dried poppy and told them to pray. Then he left Dot, so the family came here, Dot, to the edge. To the woman they don't speak of in daylight, but remember, in desperation, they call her a witch, but never to her face. Only when they think she's too far in the woods to hear. She knows this. She doesn't mind. She has names for them, too. The poultice she's making is thick now. Lumpy. A dark, green paste made from wild garlic, plantain leaves, mud scraped from beneath river stones, and a soft pulp of boiled bread. It smells like rot and mint. Like sickness given shape, Dot, she adds a drop of vinegar. Just one, then a pinch of dried moss, then a few threads of wool soaked in honey. She mixes until it holds together like clay. If you're still settling in, maybe leave a quiet like on this video and consider subscribing only. If it feels right, Dot, she turns toward the girl. The child stirs, fevered eyes open, unfocused. The woman strokes her cheek, not softly, but kindly. She pulls back the linen. The wound pulses. The heat radiates. The smell is sharp now, unmistakable. She doesn't flinch, Dot. She never does. Spreads the poultice over the wound, thick and cool. The girl cries out, not from pain, but shock. The coldness is a relief her body didn't expect. The woman hums louder, presses the paste in layers, wraps it in fresh cloth soaked in water from a stream she only draws from when the moon is new. Superstition? Maybe, but it has worked before. The child falls asleep again, the fever pulling her under like a tide. The poultice will draw it out. Maybe? Not all at once, maybe not perfectly, but slowly, gently, the way smoke leaves a house through the smallest crack. Some of the ingredients are common. Some aren't. She once used crushed beetles to cure a cough. Once boiled frogs to reduce swelling in a man's foot so large he couldn't wear shoes for a year. She's not proud of all of it, but she remembers the ones who walked away whole, and the ones who didn't. Dot in her garden. Roots twist around bones buried long ago. Animals, she claims. But some say otherwise. She wears feathers in her hair, not for beauty, but because she believes birds know things before we do. She has never had a child of her own, but she has buried 20 and remembered every face. Her reputation is thick as smoke, but her hands are clean. She wakes early, sleeps late, hears the wind in the trees, and knows whether it brings storm or calm. She cannot name the sickness, but she can smell when it's changing. The girl stirs again before dawn. Her breath is easier now, slower, her skin damp with sweat. The poultice has done its work. Tomorrow, the woman will unwrap it, replace it. Perhaps twice more, Dot, then the swelling will break. The fever will vanish like breath on glass. The family will thank her with bread and silence. They will not speak of her again until they need her again. She will smile, say nothing, return to her garden, her jars, her strange ingredients, Dot, and begin again. Witches, they said, were dangerous, but often they were just women who listened closely to things no one else bothered to hear. Leaves, boiling water, a cough in the dark, the way pain changes pitch before it breaks. Let's step away now. Quietly, Dot, let the herbs steep. Let the girl sleep, Dot, and follow the pain, where it was given as a gift, where the blade was a blessing. And blood a language, Dot, the sun here doesn't rise. It arrives, brilliant, full-bodied, and golden red, washing the pyramid steps in light that feels less like warmth and more like judgment. The air is already dry and humming. It smells of stone, incense, and blood. This is the high place, where earth reaches up toward sky, and people speak not with voices, but with sacrifice. The plaza below is quiet now, but it wasn't an hour ago. The crowd has gone, their footprints still soft in the dust. All that remains are the stains, brown, drying in a silence that stretches between the stone blocks like thread. A boy kneels at the edge of the altar. He is not bleeding, not yet, but he is afraid. The priest stands behind him, tall, cloaked in feathers and gold. His face is painted, but his hands are bare, round, strong, deliberate. In one hand, a small obsidian blade. In the other, nothing. Just open fingers, steady breath. This isn't cruelty, Dot. It's ceremony that the gods demand pain, but not for punishment. For communication. To open the body is to open the soul. To suffer is to speak a language only the divine can hear, Dot, and so pain becomes prayer. The boy's chest rises, falls. He's been prepared with fasting, smoke, silence. He's been told this is a blessing. That to bleed before the gods is to be known, to be remembered. He believes it, but he is still afraid. The priest steps forward, not hurried, never hurried. If you're enjoying this pace already, leave a soft like below and subscribe if you'd like more nights like this. He kneels beside the boy, places a hand on his shoulder, not as comfort, but as grounding. Then, with the tip of the blade, he cuts, not deep, just enough to break skin, just enough to let the blood rise. A single red bead that trembles before it falls onto the white cloth laid before them. There is no cry, no scream, not just breath. The priest leans forward and presses a strip of bark against the wound, letting the blood soak in. He places it in a small bowl, filled with flowers and crushed maize. A gift, an offering. Then he begins the chant, low, rhythmic, rising with the sun. The boy bows his head. His arms tremble, but the worst is already over. This is not a sacrifice of life, just of comfort. The Aztecs believed pain had purpose. That blood fed the stars. That suffering shaped the seasons. Children offered thorns to their tongues. Warriors pierced their ears, their thighs, their tongues, not in anger, but in honor, to show the gods that they too could endure. Priests bled themselves before rituals, leaving stains in the temples as proof of their devotion. There was beauty in it, not in the pain itself, but in its meaning. They believed the gods had bled. First, that creation came not from silence, but from a wound. So to bleed was to remember, to relive, to respect. The boy is lifted now, gently. A cloth pressed to his chest. The wound will heal. It is not meant to linger, only to speak. And now that it has spoken, he can return. He will walk back through the narrow streets, past the market stalls, past the old woman selling corn cakes, past the old man grinding cacao. He will be watched, admired, envied. He will be seen, because pain here does not make you weak. It makes you real. Later, at home, his mother will wipe the wound again with water boiled in marigold. She will kiss his forehead, not with pity, but with pride. He will not cry, not because he cannot, but because he has already given that part of himself to something larger. And in its place, something else has grown, something silent, something strong. Let's step away from the temple now, down the steps, past the bowl of flowers and blood. Let the chant echo, let the sun rise fully, and follow the pain, to where it was not honored, but feared. To the battlefield, to the salt, where the cure came not with ritual, but with fire and grit. There's a silence after battle that no one talks about. It's not peaceful. It's not still. It's just hollow. Like the wind has forgotten how to carry sound. Like the earth is holding its breath. The cries have stopped. The steel has stilled. But something lingers. The smell of blood, of churned mud, of burnt leather and broken men. In the middle of that quiet, a soldier sits with his legs stretched out before him, his boot gone, his shins split open like rotted wood. Not clean, not straight, just torn. He is breathing heavily, but he is not crying. There is a man crouched beside him, no armor, no sword. Just a small cloth pouch and a flask at his belt. He is the camp healer, not a surgeon, not a priest. Just a man who has seen what a blade can do and has learned how to stop it from doing more. He leans close, looks at the wound. It's bad, but not mortal. If it festers, though, if the rot creeps in, the leg will swell, blacken, die. And then so will the man. So he reaches into the pouch and pulls out salt, a small, coarse handful. The soldier sees it. His jaw tightens. He knows what's coming. If you're still settling in, maybe leave a quiet like on this video and consider subscribing only if it feels right. The healer doesn't speak. There's nothing to say. No comfort that would mean anything. He pours water first. Not clean. Nothing is clean here, but warm. poured gently to rinse the blood and grit. The wound gasps, the skin twitching like it wants to retreat. And then, the salt, not a pinch. A poundful. He presses it into the open flesh. The sound the soldier makes isn't a scream. It's a growl. Low. Animal. Pulled from somewhere beneath thought. His body arches. His fists curl. Tears leap from his eyes before he knows they're there. But he doesn't move. He stays. The salt does its work. It draws the water. The poison. It dries the wound, cauterizes without fire. It hurts more than the blade that made the cut. But it saves. Sometimes. The healer holds his hand steady, keeps the pressure. Waits. When it's done, he wraps the leg with linen stiff from old blood. He ties it with practiced fingers. Then he leaves. He has 12 more like this today. The soldier lies back. He blinks at the sky. It is not gratitude he feels. Not yet. I disengage. Shame. A hollow ache where strength used to live. But by nightfall, the pain will recede. The salt will pull and tighten. The wound will close. Slowly, crust by crust. And by morning, he will still be alive. They've done this for centuries. In every war, on every field, by every fire. Salt and cloth. Water and silence. No chance. No prayers. No understanding beyond instinct. You stop the bleeding. You fight the rot, and you live. The scar it leaves will be jagged, ugly. It will scream when touched in winter, and throb when storms approach. But it will be there. And that's the point. Because sometimes pain is not poetic. Sometimes it doesn't bring clarity, or healing, or grace. Sometimes it just works. The soldier will walk again. Maybe with a limp, maybe not. But when he does, he'll remember that moment. The salt, the fire in his bones, the taste of blood in his mouth. And he will know what it costs to survive. Salt is humble, but brutal. It doesn't whisper. It bites. And sometimes that's the only medicine you have. Let's step away now. Let the wound bind itself in silence. Let the salt finish its sting. And follow the pain to where fire was the medicine, where smoke didn't rise from war, but from healing. The room is made of paper and silence. Shoshi. Screens filter the morning light, turning the sun into soft ivory shapes that drift across the tatami floor. There is no furniture, no clutter, only the rhythm of water heating in a clay kettle, and the quiet breath of a man lying still on a thin mat. He is not sick, not exactly, but something inside him has grown heavy, a weight between the shoulders, a weariness in the bones. He wakes each morning with a tightness in his chest and a sense that the days no longer belong to him. The doctor says it is stagnation. The old woman down the road says it is blocked wind. His own mother used to call it the sorrow that stays in the back. Whatever it is, he has come here, to the woman with the herbs, the one who burns things on skin and listens to what leaves in the smoke. She is not young, but her hands are quick and her eyes are clear. She begins by washing his feet. Not a ritual, not a kindness, just a reset, a return to something simple, something known. Then she unwraps a small bundle of dried plants, mugwort, crushed and rolled into tiny cones no bigger than a grain of rice. Green and soft and smelling of earth after a long night of rain. This is moxa, and she will burn it to make him well. If you're enjoying this pace already, leave a soft like below and subscribe if you'd like more nights like this. She places the first cone at the base of his spine, right where the ache begins. Then she lights it. The fire is small. It smolders more than it flames, and the smoke rises like a question, curling, drifting, searching. He doesn't flinch at first. The warmth is gentle, almost pleasant, but then it deepens, becomes a sting, a bite just shy of pain. And still, he doesn't move. because this is the part that matters. The skin must feel it. Not burn, not blister, but remember, she moves up the back, cone by cone, lighting, waiting, extinguishing. The room fills with the smell of scorched green and ancient ash. She does not speak, only hums softly, not a melody. A pulse. The man lies. Still, his eyes are closed, but he is not asleep. He is somewhere else, in the memory of warmth, in the echo of something being coaxed loose. In traditional Chinese and Japanese medicine, moxibustion wasn't a last resort. It was a beginning, a way to wake the blood, to stir the qi, the life breath, where it had grown sluggish. They used it for arthritis, for grief, for digestion, for exhaustion that couldn't be named. Pain, they believed, wasn't always an intruder. Sometimes it was a message. And fire was how you answered it. She moves to his legs now, placing cones at the knees, the ankles, the tops of his feet. He breathes deeply. The pain has shifted, not gone, but relocated. And somehow, softer. After the last cone is lit and snuffed, she fans the smoke toward the window, opens it a crack. The breeze carries it out into the bamboo grove. The trees sway gently, as if bowing to something they've seen before. She rubs ginger oil into the warm places. Not to heal, that's already begun, but to remind the skin. It is cared for. The man sits up slowly. His face is damp, not with sweat, but with something else. Release? Maybe. She gives him tea. He drinks it in silence. There are no promises made, no guarantees. She does not ask how he feels. She knows that healing, like fire, leaves its truth behind without needing to explain. Outside, the sky is pale blue and trembling with birdsong. Inside, the man bows deeply, hands pressed together, nods once. Tomorrow, he will walk lighter. Maybe not with joy, not yet, but with breath. And that's enough. Let's leave them now. Let the smoke fade into the air. Let the fire rest. And follow the pain into the snow, where it was treated, not with warmth, but with ice. Where the cure was the cold itself. The air bites before it greets you. It doesn't ask permission. It wraps around your skin like a second breath, sharp and unyielding, pulling the color from your fingertips and the warmth from your lungs. The world here is white, not clean, just silent. A silence made not of peace, but of absence of things. Paused by snow, by frost, by a cold so deep it becomes its own kind of sound. This is not the cold of winter coats and fireplaces. This is the cold that humbles. The cold that heals, not gently, but with clarity. A man stands at the edge of a frozen river, bare-chested, his boots buried ankle-deep in powder. His breath fogs before his face, vanishing before it rises. He does not tremble. He is here. For the ache in his bones, the stiffness that crept in after the fever last spring, the stiffness that has refused to leave. He was told about this place by his grandmother, who was told by hers. A ritual older than science, older than warmth. The body forgets itself. The cold reminds it. And so, today, he will enter the ice. Behind him, an old woman tends the fire in a stone pit, not for the man, but for the after. She will be the one to wrap him in pelts, to feed him broth, to ensure he doesn't drift too far into the quiet. But first, he must step in. If you're enjoying this pace already, leave a soft like below and subscribe if you'd like more nights like this. The hole has been carved neatly, almost beautifully, into the river's frozen skin. The water below is black, still, and waiting. The man lowers himself slowly, breath by breath. The first touch is fire disguised as cold, a burning that strips away thought. The second touch is weight, his limbs heavy, every nerve shouting in. A single voice. And the third is silence. He is submerged now to his chest. He doesn't move, doesn't shout. He closes his eyes. The cold races through his blood like a warning. But beneath the shock, something steadies. The pain that lived in his joints begins to numb. The throb that lived in his back goes quiet. His body doesn't fight. It listens. Cold, they believed, could scare pain away. In the far north, healers plunged fevers into snowbanks, wrapped twisted ankles in river ice, pressed frostbitten fingers between slabs of frozen meat, not to punish the flesh, but to speak to it in the only language winter understands. Cold was not the enemy. It was the trial. And when the trial passed, you remembered how to be warm. The man stays for the count of 100 heartbeats. Then, breath sharp and chest rising, he lifts himself out. The air feels warmer now, absurdly. The snow stings, but less than before. The old woman wraps him in furs. Not one, but 3. She speaks no words, only hums low, a sound like wind against old wood. He is placed near the fire, broth placed in his hands, his feet wrapped in birch, bark soaked in oil. His teeth chatter, but he smiles, because the pain has moved. Cold doesn't erase pain. It reveals what was underneath. And sometimes what's underneath is space. Space to feel something else. Tomorrow, he will be sore. But tonight, he will sleep without waking. In a world of heat and herbs and hands, cold offers a different kind of medicine, one that strips everything down to truth. There is no pretending in ice. No lies in shivering. Just the body, the breath, the will. Let's leave him now. Let the steam rise from the bowl. Let the river seal itself again, and follow the pain to where it is shared. Where sage smoke and suffering walk hand in hand. It begins with a circle, not drawn in chalk or stone, but in footsteps pressed softly into the earth by moccasins, bear saws, and time. The fire is already burning in the center, low, patient, made from cedar, pine, and dried grasses that crackle like whispers when touched by flame. The people gather without speaking, not in silence out of fear, but out of reverence. Each one enters the circle with slow steps and lowered eyes. They are not here to be healed. They are here to bear witness, to pain, to breath, to the invisible things that walk with us. The healer, an elder woman wrapped in woven wool, tends to the sage bundle in her hands. It's bound tight with red thread, dried to silver-gray leaves. She lights it from the fire and begins to move slowly, letting the smoke rise in curls around each person as they pass. Smoke was not decoration. It was cleansing. It did not mask pain. It revealed it. And tonight, there is much to reveal. A young man sits in the circle's center. His eyes are open, but distant. His arm is wrapped in cloth, fresh but stained. A wound runs beneath it, but it's not the only thing that brought him here. He has not spoken in 3 days, not since the horse fell, not since his brother didn't rise. If you're still settling in, maybe leave a quiet like on this video, and consider subscribing only if it feels right. The healer kneels beside him. She does not ask questions. She does not need to. His body speaks its own language, slumped shoulders, twitching fingers, the way he breathes like he's not sure if he should. She takes a pinch of ground cedar from a pouch at her waist and tosses it into the fire. The smoke thickens, changes, smells darker now, resinous and bitter. A medicine for grief. She begins to hum, a single note held low in the throat, one that rises and falls with the smoke, one that knows where the wound is even if the healer's hands never touch it. In many indigenous traditions, pain was never just physical. A wound in the flesh could fester in the spirit, and so healing had to move in both directions. The sage smoke curls over the young man's shoulders. He closes his eyes. His fingers begin to uncurl. He doesn't speak, but his chest rises deeper. A grandmother reaches over and places a small stone in his hand, smooth, round, cooled by the night. A reminder that weight can be held, that pain too can have form, and form can be carried. Another man, older, scarred, lays a strip of red cloth across the boy's knees. It's a gesture, quiet, a way of saying, I know. The healer continues her song. It is joined now by others, soft harmonies layered over embers. The boy breathes in the smoke. Sage, they believed, chased away the things that words could not. Illness, sadness, guilt, regret. It did not erase them, but it kept them from nesting. He will stay here all night. He will not be given a salve, or a poultice, or a knife. Only the fire, the smoke, the circle, and that will be enough. Tomorrow, the cloth around his arm will be changed. The wound may still ache, but the part of him that was turning to stone, the silence, the tightening, will have cracked. Suffering in this place was not shameful. It was sacred. To be wounded was to be human. And to be human was to need others. Let's leave the circle now. Let the song continue. Let the smoke rise. Let the night hold him gently. And follow the pain into darker corridors. Where chains clanked and tongues were tied, where madness was punished with iron and isolation. The walls are thick here, not to keep the weather out, but to keep the sounds in. Stone and mortar, layered heavy, designed, not for warmth, but for silence. The corridors echo, not with footsteps, but with the absence of them. No windows, just slits in the stone that let in a pale smear of daylight. The kind of light that can't reach the floor. This is not a hospital. It is a place built for the broken, or at least for those the world could no longer explain. They called it a madhouse, but not with pity, with fear. A woman sits on a narrow cot, her wrists bound with linen to prevent her from scratching again. Her eyes flick between shadows. Her mouth opens and closes without sound. They say she screamed for days when she arrived. At night, at no one. At things only she could see. She has not screamed in some time now, because they stopped her. The healer, if he can be called that, enters the room with measured steps. He does not look at her face. He looks at her file, a thick booklet of notes written by hands who never touched her. She's been diagnosed with many things: hysteria, melancholia, demonic possession. The names change, but the fear does not. In his hand is the clamp. Iron, cold, heavy, a long screw, two curved arms. Tongue clamp does not kill. It just humiliates. It teaches that sound is dangerous, that the voice is not to be trusted. She cannot speak now, cannot scream, cannot weep aloud, but her eyes water. They always do. The healer marks the time. 15 minutes today, maybe 20 tomorrow. The clamp will be removed slowly. The tongue inspected. The gums checked for bruising. She will be praised if she remains quiet, punished if she spits blood. Elsewhere in the building, others undergo similar trials. Some are bathed in freezing water. Some are spun in chairs until they vomit. Some are left in isolation for days, then brought into bright rooms without warning to shock the senses. They say these were not treatments. They were containment, not cures, but cages. And yet, they believed that if the body could be still, the mind would follow. That if you scared the madness quiet, the person might return. Some did, some didn't. The woman is alone again. Her head rests against the stone wall. Her lips are dry. Her tongue is sore, swollen, silent. But her eyes are open. She sees the crack. In the wall across from her. She watches the light move. She is still here. The clamp did not remove. Her. It only made her harder to hear. Outside the asylum, the world continues. Streets fill with people who do not scream, but suffer in quieter ways. The acceptable ways. Their pain is praised when it is hidden, punished when it spills. Let's leave this place. Now, let the shadows have their secrets. Let her rest and follow. The pain. Into starlight. Where doctors looked up instead of down. And the moon told them when to bleed. Night. Come softly here. Not like a curtain, but like breath on glass, spreading slow and deliberate, softening edges, turning colors gray, and then silver. Above the rooftops, the moon is rising. Not yet full, but bright enough to cast shadows, gentle outlines of trees and chimneys against the pale sky. Inside a small house at the edge of the village, a candle flickers in a glass lantern, throwing trembling shapes across the room. A man sits quietly in a chair beside a table, watching the doctor who has come to treat him. He is not dying, but he feels as if something inside him is trying to. He sleeps poorly, wakes aching, tastes metal at the back of his tongue. His head throbs, his heartbeat stutters. And so, the doctor came not with herbs or bandages, but with a basin and blade, because tonight is the right moon. Astrology was not a superstition then. It was a calendar. They believed the body moved like the tides, that blood rose and fell with the lunar phases, that pain and healing followed celestial paths. The doctor unfolds a small chart painted carefully on parchment. Symbols dance across it, crescent moons, stars, planets drawn in gentle reds and blues. He nods. The moon is waning. The blood, he believes, will flow easier. The illness will recede like an outgoing tide. He takes the man's wrist gently, not roughly, not impatiently, counts the pulse. Then, without a word, he ties a cloth tightly above the elbow until the veins rise like ropes beneath the skin. If you're still settling in, maybe leave a quiet like on this video and consider subscribing only if it feels right. The blade is thin, not cruel, but precise. Polished steel that catches candlelight like water. The man doesn't flinch as the tip pierces his skin. There's pain, yes, but pain is expected. It is the signal, the sign, the offering. Blood wells slowly at first. Thick, dark, then quicker, brighter. The basin beneath catches each drop silently, the red deepening in the dim light. The doctor hums quietly. Not a melody, just a rhythm. Something to steady the room. To remind them both they're here by choice. Bloodletting was ancient medicine, practiced by Greeks and Egyptians, taught by scholars who believed illness lived in excess. Too much blood, too much heat, too much life trapped beneath skin. And the moon, they believed, guided it all. Full moons meant restless blood, prone to fever, rage, madness. New moons were safer, gentler. Waning moons meant release, a chance to let go. Tonight, beneath silver light, the man is letting go. His head feels lighter now, his heart beats slower, steadier. He closes his eyes, breathing deeper than he has in days. The basin fills. Not full, just enough. The doctor watches carefully, judging by color, by flow, by sound. When it is enough, he presses linen to the wound, wraps it firmly but gently. The bleeding stops, not reluctantly, but gratefully. The man rests. Tomorrow he will wake pale but clear, hungry, his limbs lighter, his thoughts simpler. Is it science? Perhaps not, but it worked. Sometimes. They didn't know about germs, or blood, cells, or pressure, but they knew patterns. They watched the sky, listened to pulses, trusted the quiet voice of instinct that whispered, now, or wait, or yes. We mock them gently now, smiling at their moon charts and star maps, but we forget how little else they had. No microscopes, no antibiotics, Only patterns, cycles, phases. Only hope shaped like crescent moons. And in that quiet, darkness, bleeding wasn't cruelty. It was mercy. The doctor packs his things quietly, nods to the man, steps out beneath the moonlight and pauses, breathes deeply, lets the stars wash over him. He feels it too, the calm, the quiet, the sense of being part of something larger, something moving dot above. The moon continues its silent journey. Inside, the man sleeps without dreams. Let's leave him there. Let the wound heal, dot. Let the night hold him gently, dot, and follow the pain. Somewhere stranger, dot, where smoke was pushed inside, where revival came not from breath, but from embers. The river moves slowly here, barely whispering over stones, polished smooth by endless passing. The air is soft, tinged with salt, and the distant murmur of the sea. Tall reeds sway lazily on the banks, and the sky above is muted gray, painted by clouds that drift without urgency. A small group gathers quietly near the shore. They do not speak loudly. Their voices remain hushed, careful, respectful of the stillness that surrounds them. On the grass lies a man, still, pale, unmoving. His chest does not rise. His eyes do not flicker. Minutes ago, he was pulled from the river, silent and blue, a victim of water that fills lungs and silences hearts. And now they stand unsure, gripped by panic, yes, but also by something else. Hope, perhaps, or desperation. Among them stands a healer, though that word fits awkwardly. A man more accustomed to patching wounds and setting bones than breathing life back into silence. In his hands is a small, strange device like bellows used to fan. A fire attached to a length of hollow tubing. This is the smoke enema, dot. It's not elegant, not subtle, but in this century, it was the very definition of hope. The healer kneels by the drowned man. He works quietly, filling the bellows chamber with tobacco smoke, letting embers glow softly in a small metal bowl. The scent is strong, sharp, woody, acrid. The tubing is guided carefully beneath the man's clothing, positioned delicately yet deliberately. Then he pushes. Smoke moves silently, invisibly, forced inward by pressure. They believed, truly believed, that smoke could coax life back from the brink, that the warmth, the stimulation, the sheer surprise of it, might restart what water had silenced, dot. It looks absurd from here. But then, in the helplessness of those moments, it felt like action, like doing something instead of nothing. If you're still settling in, maybe leave a quiet like on this video and consider subscribing only if it feels right. Minutes pass. The healer pumps the bellows again, slowly, methodically. The group watches, breathing shallowly themselves, waiting for some sign, a cough, a shudder, even a whisper of breath. But nothing comes. This treatment was common along shorelines in the 18th century. Rescue stations kept bellows and tobacco at the ready. Manuals were printed with careful instructions, precise illustrations. It was medicine respected and trusted, not because it always worked, but because occasionally it seemed to. Sometimes a drowned man would sputter, gasp, cough pulled back, not by magic, but by sheer shock. A sudden pulse in the chest. A startled lung remembering how to breathe. Other times, more often, it failed. Smoke curled outward from unmoving bodies, mingling with sighs of resignation. Today, on this quiet riverbank, it fails again. The healer sets the bellows aside gently. He bows his head, not in shame, but acknowledgement that he tried, that he believed. The group slowly disperses. Someone covers the drowned man gently, respectfully. They speak softly of burial, of mourning. The healer packs away his tools, hands steady, heart heavy. Tomorrow, he'll try again because someone else will need him. And perhaps next time, it will work. That was medicine Once, not always effective, but never passive. Not waiting for answers, but reaching for them, even awkwardly, even blindly. Smoke enemas fell from favor, of course, replaced by breath forced through mouths, by pumping chests and measured compressions. But for a brief moment in history, tobacco smoke and bellows meant rescue, revival, hope. Tonight, the river keeps moving, gentle and indifferent, carrying memories downstream. The healer walks away slowly, leaving behind not failure, but effort. Belief. And sometimes, that was enough. Let's step quietly away now. Let the smoke dissipate into history. Let the water carry away regret, and follow the pain. Where medicine tasted metallic, where mercury was medicine, and poison healed until it didn't. The room glows softly in candlelight, its edges blurred by the golden warmth of wax burning low. Shadows flicker across wallpaper, printed with delicate vines across heavy curtains drawn tight against the night. It's peaceful here, at least on the surface. On a bedside table sits a small glass bottle, heavy and carefully sealed. Beside it, a spoon, silver, polished, catching the candle's flickering light like a mirror held up to flame. Inside the bottle, something moves thickly shimmering, metallic, impossibly dense. Mercury, quicksilver, poison disguised as medicine. The man in the bed coughed softly, his face pale, skin damp, eyes sunken from weeks, perhaps months of illness. He's seen doctors, apothecaries, healers. They've offered poultices, powders, prayers. But still he coughs. Still he weakens. And so tonight he reaches for the mercury. Not because he believes in magic. Not because he doesn't know it's dangerous. But because he is tired. And when you're tired, sometimes danger feels like hope. The spoon is cool, heavy in his hand. He pours carefully, watching the silver liquid slip and pool like something alive reflecting candlelight, reflecting his own face, distorted in miniature. A strange little mirror held close, showing him only blurred truths. Then he swallows. Mercury slides smoothly, tastelessly, deceptively gentle. It feels cold, oddly comforting, tracing a chill down his throat, settling in his stomach with a weight that seems calming. At first, nothing happens. He lies back, closes his eyes, listens to his breathing, raspy, shallow. Waits for the relief doctors promised would come. Waits for the cough to ease, for sleep to embrace him without pain. Mercury was trusted. Medicine once. For centuries, doctors gave it freely, for infections, melancholy, aches, and syphilis, believing its heaviness could purge lighter poisons from the body, that its shine reflected some hidden truth of healing. They saw only what mercury appeared to do, not what it quietly took, and what it took was everything. If you're still settling in, maybe leave a quiet like on this video and consider subscribing only. If it feels right. Days passed. The cough quieted briefly, replaced by other symptoms. His gums began to ache. His hands trembled slightly. He felt a heaviness that had nothing to do with healing and everything to do with slow poison. But he trusted. Still, doctors praised the mercury. Told him the trembling meant toxins were leaving. They did not understand, not yet, that mercury stayed behind, nestled deep in bones, in nerves, in the blood itself, slowly, relentlessly claiming ground. Mercury was medicine, until it wasn't. But tonight, in this quiet room, the man knows none of this. He knows only the chill that fills him, only the hope that perhaps, finally, he's done enough. He drifts to sleep, dreams of silver rivers, of cool lakes reflecting stars, of mirrors showing him stronger, healthier, whole. Tomorrow, he will wake weaker. He will take another spoonful, and another. He is not alone. Across continents, across centuries, others did the same. They swallowed poison willingly, gratefully, until history taught doctors to fear what once healed. Medicine changed slowly, painfully, too late for many. Eventually, mercury bottles gathered dust, became curiosities, relics, reminders that healing demands humility. That sometimes the cure is worse than the wound. Tonight, the candle burns lower. The room quiets. His breathing slows. Let's leave him now, wrapped gently in ignorance and hope. Let's forgive those who offered mercury, not from cruelty, but from faith. And let's follow the story one last time to a place softer, kinder. To a place of reflection, of whispers, of final thoughts dot to our ending, where healing and pain become memories and lessons, blended gently like dreams dissolving at dawn. Tonight, we've traveled quietly, not through kingdoms or across battlefields, but through something quieter, closer, something softer, but no less brave. We've moved gently, room by room, moment by moment, through stories not of heroes and wars, but of hands that shook, eyes that watered, and voices that whispered comfort when comfort itself was impossible. We watched as healers nameless, faceless used fire and ice, smoke and blades to try and ease suffering. We saw pain given willingly, pain taken reluctantly, pain endured because sometimes there simply was no other way. We learned that pain wasn't cruelty. Not always. Sometimes it was compassion, masked in rituals, in silence, in belief. They didn't understand germs, infections, cells, or blood pressure. They knew nothing of bacteria, viruses, or the science that would later bring clarity. All they had was instinct. All they had was love, wrapped in strange methods. Healing in the ancient world meant enduring. It meant cutting to save, burning to cure, bleeding to strengthen, because healing, at its heart, was never really about comfort. It was about survival. And those who healed, who bore the blade or fire or herb, did so gently, even when the methods were not. They weren't trying to harm, even when harm came. They believed deeply that if they acted, the body might remember how to heal itself. Tonight, you've walked quietly beside them, felt the rooms grow warm with fire, cold with ice, heavy with smoke. You watched a man submerged in frozen rivers, a woman silenced by iron, a boy bleed willingly beneath a priest's blade. You saw mercury taken gratefully, salt poured into wounds, teeth burned to silence their agony. And now we rest. If you're still settling in, maybe leave a quiet like on this video and consider subscribing only if it feels right. Tonight, we don't judge the past. We don't mock their ignorance. We honor their effort, their hope, their desperate kindness, because even when healing hurt more than the wound, still they tried. And trying was enough. Pain has always been our teacher, not because we welcome it, but because we cannot avoid it. Pain asks us questions we wouldn't ask ourselves. It humbles us, reminds us of our edges, our limits, our humanity. In pain, we seek help. In pain, we find empathy. We invent treatments strange, cruel, gentle, wise. We create rituals to make sense of suffering, to guide us through the dark, because in darkness, humans always reach toward one another. Tonight, we've whispered through stories that echo softly through history, stories that teach us we are not alone, that we never were. The healers we've met, witches and shamans, surgeons and priests, mothers and fathers, knew one thing deeply, instinctively. That healing is never just physical. It lives in moments of quiet, in fingers pressed gently against skin, in smoke rising slowly, prayers whispered quietly, tears wiped silently. Tonight, we remember them